Hello, this is Aaron Rosen, your local realtor in Northern California. Today, I just wanted to share a little news about the Federal Reserve potentially cutting rates and what that would actually mean for a mortgage. So, the Federal Reserve said that they are probably going to cut rates. Let me just go back. It was easier, a little condensed here. There we go. Okay, financial markets agree, and on Wednesday kept bets that the U.S. Central Bank, which has held its policy rate at 5.25 to 5.5 range for the past year, will cut borrowing costs again in November and December, bringing the benchmark policy rate to 4.5 to 4.75. So that doesn't mean that mortgages are going to be at that rate. That's actually the Fed funds borrowing rate, and then mortgages happen at a premium to that because it's actually more risky than taking a bond. So if someone says, I have X amount of money, I'm going to put this into a bond, the government has never classically defaulted on any bonds, but a lot of people default on their homes, and so they just charge you more. Basically, they're going to charge you 1 to 2% more based upon your income and credit history. So I just want to come over here to this mortgage calculator and just show what that actually means. I always do my calculations on $1 million house because then you can just scale it. $2 million, double it, $500,000, cut it in half. Okay, so for right now, for $1 million house, at 6.75% interest, you're going to have basically a $6,500 payment. That is not including taxes and all the rest of it. But if we come down here and we go to 5%, that just took it down to $5,800. So that's almost a $700 difference that essentially the Federal Reserve has put into the pockets of everybody who's going to own a home in this time period. It may not be enough to refinance right now, so this may not be a benefit that everyone can enjoy. But essentially what this does is it gives you more purchasing power. So if we come here, let's say that you could afford this $6,500, I'm rounding here, $6,500 payment, right? But now you get it at a lower price. How much more do you think that you can buy in purchase price for a home? Well, let's find out. Just kind of let's just plug in a 163. So 1.5, nope, no. Let's just go 2. Okay, so what that is right there, that means that for every point that they lower, you can buy a $110,000 more worth of real estate, which is interesting. That's actually over 10%. That is going to be 11% of the total purchasing price. So think about that. This is just a general rule of thumb. Every point that the Fed lowers means that your house, if you're a homeowner, the value now increases by 11% for every point that they can go down. Because, a couple, whoever's buying it, may say, we can spend $6,500 a month on this house. Well, now they can buy a $1.11 million house instead of just a $1 million house. So understanding what's going to happen over the course of your listing is super important. And I have told clients, they say, I would like to list my house right now. And I say, great, I would love to help you. You have a choice now. If you would like to wait a few months, your house will become worth significantly more money by waiting at the end of the year. $100,000, that's 11% more of a house by waiting, where are we at? Okay, so an extra 5 months. 5 months, that's $20,000 a month. $20,000 a month. That's pretty good wages to wait to sell your house. So if you want to sell your house now, you can actually list it for a higher price than you would have otherwise, because the Federal Reserve is supposedly going to lower rates. That does mean that you have to be a little bit flexible and you have to be nimble, because if they don't lower rates, that means that you would have to lower your price. This is something that can change on a dime. I just want to express that too. Let's go to the funds rate here. Federal funds rate. Is it going to be federal funds effective rate? Okay. I wanted this actually, let's see if we can bring back to 2022. Yeah. So you can see that the rates, they obviously go up and down. This still isn't quite what I wanted to show you. I wanted to show you the St. Louis Fed version. There we go. So, when COVID happens, bam! That's why we had that huge housing supply and that huge boom in it after COVID, is because they lowered rates. So you can see here that there was a general trend up and then a general trend down. And now it appears that we're actually going to be starting another trend up. I think that the election is going to be a political event horizon, going with the metaphor of a black hole, because we don't know what's going to happen. As I've talked about in other videos, there are literally dozens of ways in which housing prices could go up or they could go down. They could allocate some federal lands, they could remove some regulations, they could change some of the building permits. So there's so many different ways in which this can go up, regardless of how the Fed's fund rate actually moves. That being said, we have been on a downward trend for a long, long time. What I'm anticipating here, and this is a little bit outside my macroeconomic specialty as a real estate agent, but it's something that I study and I have to know about. We're probably going to have some sort of retracement, pullback, depression, if you'd like to say, in either the housing market or the actual stock market, and that will affect the funds rate. So, that's going to be the real thing here. You can see that we've kind of plateaued, right? They would love to lower these rates a little bit, and when they're going to lower it, they're going to lower it down to here or here. It's not like it's coming way down here. So my advice is, anytime, if you're hunting for a deal, if you need a house now, go and buy one. Okay, we can do the math on that. Basically, here's the math. If you own a house for 10 years at 5% interest, basically you get to keep half of your rent, which is amazing. So as I've talked about in other videos, but let's just say you do a $3,000 a month rent, that's $36,000 a year, that's $360,000 over 10 years. Does that sound like something that you'd like to keep half of? Of course. That's a great number. So the Fed here, they may lower rates just a little bit, but that won't necessarily place it below 5%. My general advice is that under 5% mortgage is a steal. That's great. This is an anomaly that it goes down below 5%. Here's 5, and then you can tell, so this is the 2008 financial crisis, and then they just kept it at 0 for this time. And that was a huge mistake. I mean, inflation shot up, housing prices shot up, all of that type of stuff. So if you can see, I mean, we could kind of draw a line right across here, but you can see that most of the time that housing rates are above 5%. So, if they lower it a couple of points and they get down to 4.5, it'll be at a 5.5. And if they get down to 4 or so, that is going to be one of the primo times to buy a house. So this is just a little macroeconomics on when and where federal funds rate affect the housing market. So it's just something to keep an eye on. If you'd like to know more, have a consultation about your house, think about selling or buying strategies, all my information is below. Feel free to reach out. Thank you very much.